It is time for me to finally take you east to Czechoslovakia, following the reports of special research projects housed here in several different locations. And of course, because this is where General Kammler went in May 1945, straight into the jaws of the advancing Russians. And also, I'm quite proud to show you a facility that was constructed in the mountains near Rapschein, one that to my knowledge nobody has really seen the full extent of or capability of, certainly not from this perspective. Now, even since Germany annexed Czechoslovakia, they took over the Skoda Werke, the biggest weapons manufacturing plant in Europe, and special research sites sprang up everywhere. And it's time I take you to some of them, and over the next episodes we will meet with local experts and specialists on German Air Force research here. But let's start in those last chaotic days of the Second World War. SS General Hans Kammler was one of the most powerful men in Germany at this time, in charge of the German special weapons programs, and he was a very smart man. He knew the war was lost. Himmler knew, Bormann knew, Goebbels knew, Speer knew. And yet everybody seemed to have kept this belief from Hitler, who himself had little choice at this point but to continue his fight, hoping for a miracle weapon to save the day. This hope was shared with one of his most loyal supporters, Joseph Goebbels, and put on the shoulders of Kammler. On the 15th of April, Kammler, Göring, Himmler's families were gathered together in the safety in Tyrol in Austria. And on the 17th, Himmler requested that Kammler send one of the super heavy Ju-380 planes, long-range planes, heavy lift, to Berlin, a request that Kammler denied to his boss. After a long meeting later with Hitler and Goebbels in Berlin on or around April 22, 1945, Goebbels wrote in his diary that much hope rests on the shoulders of General Kammler. He just managed to get out of Berlin on the 23rd before the Russians closed the ring. He then had a meeting in Salzburg with SS armament directors. He was making plans. On the 28th, Kammler ordered Adolf Gallant's Jägerverband 44, equipped with Me-262s, to immediately leave and deploy at Prague, armed with rockets developed by Kammler's team. Now a constant stream of orders was issued. Time was of the essence, as was apparently holding Prague, not the encircled Berlin. Field Marshal Schroener, who at this very moment was fighting to keep the Russians from the doorsteps to the Prague-Riese sites. He was now ordered to hold Prague at all costs, with Hitler's approval. Kammler ordered all Peenemünde scientists, including von Braun, to Oberammergau, Austria, towards the American advance, and made arrangements for Dohr-Mittelwerk, the huge underground rocket factory in Thüringen, to be turned over to the Americans intact, and the rocket scientists to be surrendered to the Americans. Kammler must now know that Berlin was lost, and Hitler the same. He was actively disobeying all orders from his boss Heinrich Himmler, and just 1 month before, the British Air Force killed 9,000 civilians and forced laborers in Nordhausen, trying especially to kill him. This has since been confirmed that he was on the SOE hit list. And according to letters written to Kammler's family, Kammler himself admitted that Himmler had tried to have him assassinated on 3 different occasions. The Third Army under General Patton was racing towards Kammler's special underground facilities in Linz, Austria. The Russians were making their final approach on Prague. He had every reason to either disappear or sit tight with his family, but he did not. And when Himmler had Dornberger imprisoned, Kammler himself personally went to get him released, and together they drove to Austria, where they parted. But now Kammler went east, towards Prague, where he was soon followed by his former colleague and friend, head of the Skoda Werke, Wilhelm Voss. Both went to the Skoda Werke in Pilsen and on to Prague, towards the Russian advance. Pilsen was to be liberated by the Americans, but Kammler did not know that. Or did he? Did he know the Americans would take Linz with Bergkristall, and much more, just beating the Russians to it? Kammler was disobeying Himmler's orders. Hitler's would soon be irrelevant too, and he knew it. So whom was he working with, or towards? And what exactly was so important in Czechoslovakia that one of the most powerful men in Germany would risk his life going there. Kammler had his own research staff working outside the known rocket programs, outside the nuclear projects, all programs he had actual control over. A special research staff thought to be Kammlers was located in Rapschein, Czechoslovakia, not far from Prague. Here special research programs took place under Rolf Engel. Not far from there was an SS pioneer school under the control of Emiel Klein, and also an SS construction staff had been located there for years. Rapschein was taken by the Russian airborne troops, something quite special at that time and quite unnecessary. It was not specifically heavily guarded, and the Russian army was not far. But clearly this was a place of special interest to the Russians, and they knew it. Otherwise they wouldn't have used their airborne troops. But we'll get back to that, and we will, of course, visit the site. Looking at the map overview, Project Riese was one center of special projects. And traveling the road from Riese into Czechoslovakia, one will be passing several special Me-262 plants, helicopter plants, rocket factories. But before we even get into Pilsen and Rapschein, or Prague, there are several special sites we also need to look at first. Places where it has been reported special projects were housed or could have been hidden. Now, of course, one of these is located near a uranium mine that was being mined for years by the Weser Werke. You may have heard of the Rapschein mine, codenamed B5, where industry had moved underground to produce Tiger tanks, nearly 100 meters underground. Today it is extremely dangerous to explore and also filled with nuclear waste for that sake matter. But 30 kilometers from that site is another plant. It has generally been accepted that WFT, Weser Werke Flugzeugbau, subsidiary to Krupp, was producing aircrafts, jets, here in tunnels dug into the mountainside, using the site of a former textile factory. However, during research I came across an old article from 1945 in Times magazine, stating that 3 cyclotrons had been operating here. That was confirmed or backed up by a report from the Air Force Intelligence Division, confirming the Russians who took the site removed one large industrial cyclotron from there. But all available material simply claims it was an underground airplane factory. So I wanted to visit this site because some things did not add up. Also with the ratio of workers. There's something odd here. And given that I had only seen online photos of these tunnels, and even when National Geographic went here, they completely ignored the inside of the tunnels, except mentioning they were collapsing, thus construction stopped back at the time of the war. That also didn't make sense. So, expecting closed gates and collapsed tunnels, I decided to go by, just to take a look, to see what was there. And honestly, I found something so much more than I thought I would. These are the remains of the former concentration camp, labor camp Rapschein, where 700 laborers, prisoners, were living until the end. And already here, my first questions arise. There are 6,000 people working in this facility, but only 700 prisoners. That makes the ratio to skilled laborers and prisoners far, far lower than we've ever seen before. Even in the rocket works, there was always far more prisoners than civilians or military technicians. Though this is interesting. What were they doing here, and what could they possibly have constructed with such a small amount of prisoners? It's only a monument and some of the remaining foundations of some of the houses. I suppose this is a good location for a concentration camp site, since you're pretty much fenced in by mountains and forests, and no one can really see what's going on here. This is the road leading down to the tunnels. Today very little remains of the camp Rapschein itself. There were some 20 wooden buildings that was built here, and some of the foundations are still left. They had started digging tunnels to move airplane production into underground where it's safe from Allied bombing. And the Weser Werke was nearby. There was also a uranium mine not far from here. Only a few photos remain of this place as it was eventually found. It's an interesting thought, in such a beautiful, peaceful area, what it must be like, or have been like, to be here as a prisoner forced to work. And that's not all. The prisoners woke up on May 8, 1945 to find all the guards gone. However, to the sight of Russian airborne soldiers dropping around the area. Now, what was so important in here that at the very end, the last day of the war, the Russians would actually stage an airborne drop at this location. Something really important must have been here that they really wanted to get their hands on before anybody else could destroy it or take it away. That would be my second tell here. And in 1942, the entire location here was confiscated by the German government and transferred to armaments production, named the Weser Werke on the Weser Flugzeugbau. There was a textile mill here ever since 1860, and they've always done dyes and textiles here, close to running water, because of course you need lots of electricity in order to do so. And I keep wondering if that is part of a power plant or the electricity plant. See the other end of the facility here, you have something that distinctly looked like a little guardhouse. And it was probably a little guardhouse from before this was ever taken over by the German government. I've never seen a power plant or anything with a chimney this big built right into the side of a rock. This is built right into the rock face. This could have been the foundation, certainly. It was, because the tile is out here. So this was the back wall of presumably the power plant. You can smell the soot in here. This is definitely Now tell me that doesn't look like a guardhouse, even today. The camp is beyond that hill, and originally here was a textile mill that continued at the start of the war. And here are the first of the tunnels. Several tunnels were built into the mountainside. Of course, you also have protective buildings, and there's a guardhouse. It's hard to say if this was the guardhouse or storage for tools and machinery. I will lean towards that. This does not look like anything but a storage shed. And of course, if you were working in underground tunnels, you would need equipment, gear, replacement, bits and pieces, and keeping them right out in front. Same here for the second room. That seems to make the most sense. So here's a window where you could clearly keep an eye on the tunnels which are leading down this mountainside. Tunnels are to the right down this path. Start with the first one. I do see a closed door, which is my favorite indication of something I need to see. I see the tunnel entrance built somewhat different than how the Germans usually did it. There's a padlock on it, but it does look open. Nope, that's not open. But anyway, and you'd have an additional gate that was here. While that was post-war, during the war, it's hard to say. This could have been built up to close off the tunnels after. See if we can't find one that's open to give you an idea of what we're working with here. One thing that's striking is how far apart the tunnels are. Come here to the old bridge, very old bridge, leading from a road on the other side of this little stream here into the next tunnels down here. Tunnel down there. This looks a lot more like a building I would see outside a production facility like this. And here you would have had as generators would be sitting here. Probably, I would imagine you also would have compressors. A lot of technical on the walls. Technicals in here. Ventilation. More generators, compressors, technical. Here. So this would literally be the support building for the work in the tunnel. Although I would imagine there certainly would also be machinery in the tunnel. And I would imagine there would be power running to it from the outside as well. This is a ventilation or air. I think this is where you would pull the air in. And this metal door type thing. I don't know about this one. I'm not going to say the building looks reinforced. It just looks like a strong, well-built, purpose-built building, not like a guardhouse, but like a work building. And you look at how the glasses would have been inserted in. This was well produced. They did not cut any corners here. Not at all. Guardhouse. Now at this point I did hear people working inside. I saw a generator going, there was lights in there, and I figured, well, if I hold my camera quietly to the side and pretend to be a stray tourist, I'll go in and see what they're actually doing in there. Maybe they'll let me look around before I get kicked out for whatever reason. But that's not exactly what happened.
Hello? Anybody here?
Now looking around at these tunnels, I see the largest, most intact facility I've ever seen. This is clean, huge, lots of installations, and there's a guy standing at the end. And I figured out, well, let's see what they say. He didn't speak much English. However, thanks to movie magic, he is a set designer. He was getting ready for a film shoot in there. You will not believe what they're shooting. These tunnels are so big, they're actually having a car chase in here. So much for the tunnels collapsing, stopping work. I said car chase. That should give you an idea of what's possible in here. And that's 75 years after the war. So, throwing my Screen Actors Guild and Producers card around, he let me do whatever I wanted to do. Good man.
So this is where they stopped building and then started doing this. I spend a lot of time underground. I write books on military history, and then I do documentaries on military history, and fortunately I brought my own light. So I spend a lot of time underground. Holy, this is just really nice and clean, and it's not wet, and wow, this is so not what I had expected. This is a huge underground production facility. It's big enough for them to do car scenes, racing scenes driving through here. This is not unsafe, this is not unstable. And it's big enough for a car chase. Maybe this is a lot more than I thought. I see the lights. That looks, well, it's been rewired, but it looks original. And this is probably where this is bricked up, but if you look at this whole thing, damn. Yeah, this is bricked up. Not very much.
There were 4 tunnel systems completed here. The planned usable area was 82,500 square meters, of which about 18,000 was completed. There was a loading ramp at Rapschein train station with a narrow gauge transport line about 6 kilometers long. There was also transformer station, boiler houses, elevated water tanks, and tunnels for the guard posts. Those I still had to find.
This is a section that has been bricked up after the war. You see how these bricks don't fit in. So there was something in there. And you see that cutout. That was probably a rail for a crane. Something. And when I look at the side, there are indents on the right side all the way down that are sections or tunnels that's been bricked up. And somebody had the idea of looking through there. Yeah. Wow. And I came right on the right day where the damn tunnels are actually open. Another section into the other section. Wow. see a lot of the side tunnels. Here's another side tunnel. This is absolutely amazing. I did not expect anything this big. I absolutely did not. I expected something smaller. Little tunnels like we usually see just coming from the Unicell tunnels, which were nothing compared to this. This would have taken a rather significant workforce to have accomplished. This is worthy of Portuguese tunnels. In fact, these are bigger and cleaner, flat floor. And of course, this was bricked up as well. Damn. This could just have been where they were. Oh, no, there's a tunnel in there too. Look at this. The only reason why the lights are here is because they're shooting a movie.
Now, considering what we saw and the involvement of Siemens in the other tunnel system we saw last week, you will be shocked and surprised when I tell you, guess who was involved here from at least 1944? Well, Siemens Bauunion GmbH, with code name Sachstein. So Siemens was also involved here. I am sure that's entirely a coincidence. But I will say that every single narrative of what actually took place here does conflict with every other narrative that I've heard. So something else might have gone on here other than what we are being told. What a surprise.
I mean, yeah. I mean, Jesus Christ. I honestly don't know what to feel. This is absolutely enormous. This is the biggest underground factory site I have been in. And I thought this was just supposed to be smaller production facility, something that would facilitate smaller production of auxiliary parts of aircrafts. But this is more. You could build entire aircraft in here. And of course, they bricked it up in a very interesting manner, I will say. But on the other side of this is more. See, the air vents are still there. This is not what I expected. I see the original lights up here. And again, I don't know why I'm whispering. I would say I'm alone in here, but I'm really not. But I'm also not hearing any cars, so they haven't started doing their driving yet. Look at the archways. I'm just trying to take this all in. Because this is stupidly staggering. There's another. Here's the first tunnel as I saw as I came in. And you see the archways. Everything is just detailed, well produced. It is well put together. There's no rush. It is safe and dry.
I honestly do not know what to feel. This is, I don't like to use the word overwhelming, but this is absolutely staggering. This is absolutely amazing. Dear Lord. And this is another entrance. Alright, so this is the entrance on the other side of that wall where the ventilation pipes come out of. And I will say they do look somewhat original. Look at everything up there. Except the bricks are new. So if you look at the bricks, this is not a brick. This is a metal rail. A lighter weight metal rail. Probably from the time of the war. See a hole in the wall there. Don't know if it's big enough for me. It is a hole in the wall. It is definitely big enough for me. Oh dear God. Look at this. Jesus. Look at this. And it's so quiet in here. Now all of a sudden you can't hear. I'm just on the outside of this seal that they closed at the end of this tunnel, and somebody broke through it eventually, of course. But I can't hear the generator anymore. It is so peaceful and quiet in here now. Rapschein held a lot more secrets than what I was aware of. That's not bricked off, that's another tunnel. That's hard to say, it could be bricked off. But it looks like it could also be another tunnel. Of all the tunnels I've been in, this is by far the one where I feel the safest. And here's some construction inside. Don't know if it's a reinforcement or what it is. Don't know what any of this is, but I'm thinking these are tunnels that are not yet complete. So let's take the smallest one. Of course, everything would have been dug out of here, pulled out. But there could be miles of tunnels down here, easily. Once again, I don't know what to say. I'm just taking you with me on this journey. And you know God loves historians, because it was a complete gamble yesterday where I said, I'm gonna come here. Toss-up was about either I was gonna go to Gusen or I was gonna go to here. And it was just toss of the dime last night. Alright, couldn't meet the guy in Gusen till for a few days from now. Came here instead. I figure I'm going to Pilsen. This is roughly on the way. It was a complete coincidence that I came here today, right on the day where someone is filming a movie in here. So the guard let me in. I wish I could buy that guy lunch or something. But these are the tunnels that were, from what I can tell, not finished, obviously. But they were still expanding this. They were expanding this to look like the enormous finished complex outside. I just... yeah. I was on the other side of this. So what is this? It's blocked off, but yeah, it looks recent. See all the scrape marks, the tool marks in here. Pickaxes, hacks, whatever you could find. Well, they had tools, certainly. I could see why this would be safe from bombing from Allies until the Russians eventually got too close. Damn. I have to find that guy and thank him a lot, because there's a hollow tube. I thought it was one of the tools there for a minute. I would imagine everything used for tooling had been removed by the Russians when they got here. That is, well, the MO. This is still amazing, absolutely amazing to see. Alright, I'll go back out in the main tunnels, say thank you to my guide. I mean, the sheer size of this is just staggering. It is absolutely staggering. And you see the heavy beams where you would more than likely have cranes to lift things, have cranes moving parts around. And there would have been lighting fixtures on one side and then holders for equipment, I'm imagining, on the other. It's the coincidence of being here on the very one day where the gates wouldn't be locked at the time when they're not filming, so I wouldn't be in here getting run over. This is
the kind of coincidence that makes me do what I want to do. And then there's that. And then there's that. Oh, that 20 meters up. See more electronics on the walls. The lights are flickering, but
after the war, the other tunnel systems were used for storage of fuel, ammunition, and food. Some of them had been modernized for that purpose by the Czech army. I couldn't get into those because that was the gate that was locked for one, but I think I've seen enough to know what was truly possible in this enormous place. So, paying my respects to my fellow overseas film producers, and thank you for letting me in, I look forward to returning to seeing the other parts of this facility, but this was impressive beyond all means.
you have the fence posts. And on the other side of the little river, looks like a rail. There would be a rail link. And I see a building. I see more fence posts. And I'm sensing I need to get across this little river here somehow. If I follow the road, I will probably get to it. There must have been a rail link with all this heavy machinery equipment. And of course, if they're building airplane parts and what else in here, that would also have been the case. Fence posts along the road. And I don't think they were there to ensure people didn't fall in the little river here. It is, after all, just a little lake. So you had what you always need. You have security, have forced labor, you have underground tunnels, everything you need to produce material underground. What an amazing surprise. So here, another little card house. Used to be, looks like 2 doors, a window. There's nothing in here. It's just one room. Had electrical paneling, something sitting up there, built into what looks like the stone from the mine, which makes perfect sense. You would build out of what you pulled out of the mountain. You see the tool marks on the stones of various kinds. Again, probably generator room, work room. And then there's a big building over here, which I am imagining was the original textile factory. And here's another one of something.
What is this? What is this? If I didn't know any better, I would think that would be a bathroom. It's just another little room again, where somebody pulled in a couch. But little indents and holes in the walls, set up for electrical, clawed out the same way. And with a steel door. Another steel door. And we come out to the factory. Now, of all the World War II tunnels I have seen built by the Germans for research and underground factories and manufacturing, if I was ever going to stick anything electronic, nuclear, if I was going to put a particle accelerator into any tunnels I've seen, the one here at Rapschein would be it. It is dry, it is well built, extremely well built, it is secure, it is extremely well built. If I was going to put a cyclotron in a tunnel, it would be here at Rapschein. So you have the tunnels down there into the mountain. Have the textile factory there. You know it wasn't just a textile factory, because there are guardhouses watching it. I am very impressed. This is a building that existed from before the war. There are some beautiful buildings out here, I must admit. And somebody's refurbishing that one. This has got new windows, which is good. Repurposing is good. Actually refurbishing the old factory, or using it. I think that is absolutely awesome. I'm imagining this is one of the last remnants that you can really see outside. It's the bridge with access to the tunnels. And you can at least walk it. Obviously it was a car bridge for trucks, and don't know if there was rail leading this close to the tunnels. I would not be surprised if there were, from what I've seen. And this certainly looks strong enough. However, outside here, I see a vehicle ramp, like you'd see on most military bases. Would you run vehicles up, work on a little platform so you can crawl under it, check things underneath.
and you see holes in those metal beams. That is what they used to close off some of the ends of the tunnels. Just curious, why would there be a vehicle ramp sitting out here? Of course, you have lots of trucks that would come and go, but this tells me there will also be at least a small service garage here for the vehicles. Just a note, a little surprising. It doesn't look like much, does it?
Now leaving here, heading towards the Theresienstadt ghetto, not far, only some 30 kilometers away, we'll find the Richard mine, which is actually the largest of the German underground factories, with 3 separate tunnel systems, all of them still today flaunt in mystery. They were to house Tiger tank production, that of synthetic fuel, engines, and Osram was to produce radar equipment here. It was claimed that towards the end of the war, rows of German trucks entered, unloaded something, whereafter the whole back of the inside factory tunnel system was blown up, and apparently nobody has been able to get in there ever since. Today it is off limits, and part of it is used to store nuclear waste in huge drums. Another good reason to stay away, I suppose. In 1962, there was a small accident, apparently involving poisonous gas. Where this came from, or if this was part of a booby trap, we don't know. But this was also a dangerous place to work for the forced laborers here. 4,000 to 5,000 of the 18,000 of the workers here died, many of them due to the typhoid epidemic. However, for reference, here we are seeing 18,000 workers in the largest facility of the war, comparing that to Riese or Jonastal, where over 30,000 were working. And apparently there nothing was completed. I wanted to take a look and see if I could find any of the old entrances, get in as far as I hoped to. But on the way at the perimeter, I found an old abandoned mansion. This was the building where the Gestapo was housed, as well as the SS security detachment. It had been abandoned ever since the war and is quite dilapidated, but I wanted to take a look to see if I could determine any further signs of its use, besides the cells I would expect to find in the basement.
And on the way, I found a building that was used by the Gestapo. Obviously, it has been gutted 7 ways from Sunday and full of graffiti. And here used to be what looks like a fire pool. This was once a very nice house. That will take quite a lot of restoring. There is a basement. Once again, obviously, it has been completely gutted. But I am a little curious to get inside. It looks like an old mansion of some sort. It was a gorgeous building back in the day. That's pretty certain. So, I know there's a hole in the fence here somewhere. There always is. I mean, look at this. This is a beautiful building. And here's the hole in the gate. Aha. Wow. Alright, let's do the opposite of what I usually do. Start in the basement. Hey guys. Oh, you found light too.
Yeah.
Find anything interesting? No dead bodies?
Not really.
Oh.
Unfortunately, no dead bodies.
This would have been a beautiful building back in the day.
Probably.
Yeah, no, like 80 years ago. A little paint, it'll be fine. That's always fun to run into fellow explorers. Some of these places. What the Gestapo did here, I don't know. I see what could certainly be a very secure, safe, and rather unpleasant experience here in the basement. But since the Gestapo was also in charge of Theresienstadt prison, it would make sense that since some of those prisoners were working here, there would be a Gestapo contingent closer to the actual camp. It's very interesting how this is built, almost defensible, with a room with 2 windows facing in every direction. Don't know by whom, don't know when, don't know why. It is a building that's hundreds of years old, obviously. That somehow looks troubling. Something would have been hanging over this door. There's attachments that I've seen wartime German construction from before. I've seen this type of attachment. And it looks like the window seals have been reinforced with a little bit of cement. Tell me that. You can just get up there and defend from there. It's very strange. It's one of the staircase has been put in later. Alright, go upstairs and see what we can see. I mean, what a gorgeous building this was. Look at the front door here. And the roof with wood. It really will take some work restoring this. That's not wood. That look like ceramic tile. That looked like hollow ceramic tile under the roof. It is. Granted, I'm not an architect, but I've never seen hollow ceramic tile in a roof before. You can just still see the remains of rolling shutters. Again, you have architecture a century or two old. This tells of this would have been an expensive building to make, and it was well built and ornate. Understand why the Gestapo took it over for a number of reasons. You can imagine offices being in there. And here you have a roof above without ceramic tile, but you have wood beams that could, no, they actually look like they've been placed there time of construction. Again, hollow ceramic tile, and on the roof above that as well, hollow ceramic tile. Never seen that used for roofing. Unless it was some sort of way of transporting heat, insulation. I don't know. Alright, since I'm not climbing that beam, I am going back outside, see if I can make my way up to where it remains at the factory for Richard. There's the building, there's the water reservoir, and then there's something here, including something there. That looks contemporary to the house. There's basement. Oh, just looks like a simple room. Could have been. There's nothing in there. Alright, that thing is built with brick. I'm a little curious as to what this is, because that could just be an adjacent farm building. Has something that almost looks like stucco. So it could be nothing, but okay, has a basement. This could certainly also have been built at the time of the war. That's entirely possible. A couple of these buildings. Well, if this was even then guarding the entrance up to the camp, I guess it would make sense they would be here. And like I said, there are several entrances where pretty much all of them have been sealed up. And there's this, which most definitely look like wartime construction. You're kidding me. Are you kidding me? The door's open. Didn't even bring my light. It's just the power plant
that would supply the electricity for the work in the mine. And I'm pretty sure these have been put here after the war. Did not actually expect this to be open. Alright, it's not really open. It's the generator room. It's just a large room. This is not actually part of the tunnel complex. Compressors. And that was the pillars for 4. And maybe see up on the roof here. Actually have daylight coming in. A bit of soot on the roof, which is very hard to see. Sorry, I did not bring enough light to this, quite frankly. I did not think this would be looking. But there's nothing here to remind us of what actually happened here back in the day. It's a large reinforced building. I think what I'm looking at up there is one of the tunnel entrances. There was quite a few tunnel entrances, and most of them have been sealed off for the very obvious reason that today the military and government is storing nuclear waste in them. I think breaking into a nuclear waste storage dump is sort of where I need to draw the line. Don't you? So we'll go as far to the mine entrance as we can. There's an enormous network underneath here that a friend of mine has spent quite a lot more time inside. Pretty sure this entrance has also been renewed and rebuilt since the war. But from what I can see, this looks closer to what the Weser tunnels were or looked like in construction. You guys may remember me telling you about a Mr. Jones that I keep referring to whenever I go into small, tight places. Mr. Jones, he excavated, explored the Richard mine extensively. So, you know what? Over to you. Now, Mr. Jones is a madman. He will crawl into places that'll make gophers scared. And I thought I wanted to reach out and show you guys his little excavation from Richard. And afterwards, I think you should find him here on YouTube and take a look at the full trip through. Clearly, you can see why this is not a safe place. And he was one of the last to get in here and film it. Take it away.
Hello, I'm Piotr Kawiak, but you may know me from my internet pseudonym, which is Kawiak Jones. I'm running a YouTube channel which is focusing on undergrounds, mostly caves, because that's my biggest passion, but I'm also interested in undergrounds like bunkers, like underground mines. I'm also one of the last people that actually managed to get inside the Richard complex in the Czech Republic. I spent the whole day underground there, exploring every hole I could squeeze myself into. I also met some explorers from Czech Republic down there who were actually researching this place for a very long time. And they were digging in many places. They were trying to make some dig through. And I don't know if it's a proper way to say it, but they were actually trying to excavate all collapsed tunnels because they believe there is some continuation. And this continuation is actually shown on the maps, but nobody managed to get through all of those collapses, cave-ins, because the nature of the rock there, it's really not stable. And Richard complex now is being closed to anybody who wants to get it. And I actually totally understand Czech Republic government who closed it, because I've seen those undergrounds, and you know, without daily maintenance, they are starting to collapse really fast because of the nature of this limestone rock. But the guys I met there told me also a lot of interesting stories about this place, and I still believe that there is some stuff hidden underground, especially in the complex of Richard III, because I've been to Richard 1. Richard 2 is the nuclear waste storage place, and Richard 3 it's like abandoned. There is no even entrance to that. So actually Richard 3 and the south parts of Richard 1 are the parts where I would suppose that there is something more hidden. Especially it's so deep underground, it's actually like I think 150 meters below the top of the mountain. So if Germans were collapsing something or caving something in the end of the war, actually that would be the best place, because besides the place where they actually exploded it, there is no other place where you can access this caved in areas. So if somebody would ask me, that's the two places in Czech Republic that I know that I would show us as places that are still having some mysteries. And what I also believe, I mean, what's also supporting my thesis about stuff that's being hidden from us in Second World War is the fact that I'm observing a lot of counteraction, I would call it. So there were I knew some people, and I still know them, that were trying to register some kind of research action in some of those parts, like Rize, Międzyrzecki Rejon, Ostwald, or some other stuff. And they are still somehow blocked, you know, by the authorities, and I don't see the reason why. And it's like so many different authorities who also always have the same decision, and it's kind of suspicious for me. And also I've seen many bunkers that were destroyed by some people who were looking for some treasures, and I also heard many rumors about who was actually doing those demolitions to get something out. I even saw one opened place where, I believe there was something hidden inside of the bunker of the wall. Just after 1989, when Poland actually became again a free country, some groups with German registered cars came there and actually was taking something out of the bunkers that's been standing there since 45 years back then. So that's a very, very sneaky subject, and I still believe that there is something happening around this area, and I still believe that there is something being hidden, especially in the Rize complex, because, you know, if they have been excavating such big amounts of the coal from this place, you know, there has to be a lot of cavities underground, and I don't believe Germans just let them go or let them collapse. I really believe that they actually started to use them in some kind of purpose that only they know, and that there is still a lot to be uncovered from the undergrounds.
Now I hope Mr. Jones will join us here for a live chat one of these days and tell us more about what he has found underground, especially in some of these special locations that he spent a lot of time under. But we are also not done here in Czechoslovakia. We need to visit the headquarters of the secret Kammlerstab, and we need to take a look at some of the experimental heavy lift planes, twin engines, that were big enough to lift a 1-ton warhead, if you know where I'm going with this. And also, we need to explore exactly who Kammler met with, who did Voss meet with, what exactly did the US Army find or do as they were pushing past Pilsen, past their demarcation line, and why. We also need to go visit the route of Emiel Klein and his SS men as they were evacuating out of Czechoslovakia, and the secret hiding places they have built. One of them that almost led to the Cold War turning hot in 1947. That's a story for next time, but we're getting there. Behind me is Werner von Braun's first test stand. Down the road is Dietmar's nuclear reactor. Over there is the Maginot Line and all its amazing forts. I'm visiting them all and I'm bringing them to you. So I really appreciate you like, follow, and share what I'm doing, trying to document all these important historical locations. And if you feel like you want to watch more pictures or documents that are used for these, go to lostbattlefields.com. And if you feel like helping me out with my travels, because gasoline and travel and airfare is expensive, my PayPal is there, protectionserviceint.com. You are more than welcome, but you don't have to. I appreciate all your support and all your help, and I love seeing these locations, and I love bringing them to you.